Hello, my name is Joshua Bakker, and this is my training PowerPoint presentation for Management 440 for GCU. So, project closeout. Closing out a project is a big deal. It is the end of a lot of work. There are three main tasks that need to be taken care of. The first task is wrapping up. In order to wrap up a project, the project has to be signed off on by the customer. Other things that need to be completed in the wrap-up are that the accounts need to be closed, the bills need to be paid, staff need to be reassigned, and facilities and other accounts need to be closed. The second thing that is required for closing a project is a project audit. A project audit is a review of how well the project did. Project audits often have a causal analysis and retrospectives and are done by interviewing team members and stakeholders to review how well the project did overall. The audit is then made into a report to go over as a team so that they can do better on the next project. The final thing that needs to be done for the project is to do an evaluation of the performance and the management. This is done by having evaluations submitted by teams, team members, managers, customers, and vendors to evaluate the different parts of the project. So these are the challenges and places that your management can improve when performing the closeout of a project. One of the biggest challenges for people after a project is finished is motivation. Nobody wants to do the cleanup for a project after they just worked on it. The second challenge for the closeout of a project is that the audit takes longer than it should. An audit should be short and concise and should not cause the project to extend any period of time. One more and final challenge for a project to close out is that the evaluation of the project is too partial and is not a good evaluation. The evaluation of the project should cover everything to properly evaluate the project. Understanding these challenges can show you where it is you need to improve in your project management skills. So the solutions to the challenges presented in the previous slide. To fix the problem of motivation for team members in the wrap-up of a project, team members should be assigned to specific tasks. The tasks should then have specific deadlines to keep the members motivated so that they finish out the project. Second problem is that audits are not supposed to take a long time. If an audit does take a long time, it slows down the closeout process. Making a deadline for your audit would make sure that it is complete and that you can finally see where the project went wrong or where you did well. Finally, to make sure that partial evaluations are not turned in, make the evaluations ones that are company approved. It would also be beneficial to make the evaluations mandatory and make them online, and do not let the window for the evaluation close until all the questions are answered to make sure that you have a proper and full evaluation. Alright, so this is the scenario prepared for this subject. So you have just finished up a project for a new customer. However, the project did not go as well as you had planned. The customer changed his wants for the project that he needed to be added halfway through your project, causing the project to not go according to your plan. Because of these changes, the project went a month over schedule and is just barely making the maximum budget that you had planned. The project is finally in the end stages and the customer has approved your project. All that is left is the closeout process. Alright, I'll give you a few seconds to read this over again. Alright, so discussion of the scenario. So first question, what would you do to close out this project? And second, what do you expect to find from your audit? So I'll give you a few seconds again to think these over. Alright, so this first question. The first question in this scenario is just a test to make sure you've been paying attention and if you understand what exactly is needed for a project closeout. You should be able to cover the three parts of project closeout that would be needed to finish up this project yet. And your answer should also cover the three challenges I proposed and how you would deal with them. And finally, for your audit, you should expect to see that your project went over time and that the project was almost over budget. And from those, you should be able to correct your next project and find areas that you can improve. Alright, the next subject, international factors and cross-cultural considerations in project management. So globalization is leading to more international projects. Due to international projects, cultural differences are more and more important to the success of projects. So diversity has been increasing in countries due to the ease of immigration and the ease of travel. Globalization of companies is also increasing due to these factors, leading to international projects and more cultural differences, which can oftentimes be a source of new ideas and creativity for your company. Unfortunately, this can also lead to problems due to the differences in viewpoints of different cultures. However, these differences can be solved by a culturally sensitive manager who has flexible leadership and leads through communication, respect, and reconciliation. So, challenges and places to improve for this topic. Number 1 is language differences. Second is different cultural differences. And third is different motivational differences. So one of the most basic but frustrating challenges of working internationally is a language barrier. It can prove frustrating due to the inability to communicate. Second difference, cultural differences, is a big challenge of working in a different and new environment. The three main cultural differences that must be addressed are relationships between different people, people's attitudes towards time, and how people feel about control. Finally, different cultures are motivated by different things, so one type of motivation will not work with other people. Understanding these challenges can show you where you can improve as a project manager. So these are continued off the previous slide on the cultural differences. So relationships between people are different between cultures. Some cultures value individualism versus communitarianism. So some cultures value the individual and working alone, while others value working together as a group. The second part, their attitude towards time. Some cultures value and see time differently than others. Some cultures see time as a straight line, which is called sequentialism, and they tend to do one thing at a time, marching out to the end of the project. Other cultures and people see time as a cycle, which is called synchronism, and those people tend to do several things at once because time's a cycle, so more things can be completed at the same time. Finally, some cultures believe that they control their environment themselves, while others believe they work with their environment. Now, this doesn't apply just to environment, this also applies to their management. So some work with their management, while others see them working for their management and controlling. So the solutions to the problems. For the language problem, the best way to overcome a language barrier is to have a translator that you trust translate for you. The second problem for the cultural differences is important to identify and distinguish which way you will be following. So identifying which of the differences each group has can let you change your approach for each one. For example, if you identify their definition of time, and then you identify what your definition of time, or plan, or control is, you can find a definition that works for both of you, and that way you're both on the same page. Finally, for motivation, it's easiest to find what will best motivate each person, whether they motivate themselves or they need you to help motivate them. Alright, for the scenario for the management role. So you have just been given the management role for a new project in China. This new project is to help set up and oversee a new factory in China. You also have German and British workers and managers coming with you. When you arrive at the job site, you find that the project has already been started, however, it is not going well. The translator has not been at the project enough, and there is a significant language barrier. Finally, the project manager is complaining that the new workers are lazy, I have to be constantly on them to get them to work, and I'm used to my workers being motivated all by themselves. So I'll give you a few seconds to read that over. Alright, questions for this scenario. A, how would you fix the two problems that you have so far? And B, how would you explain to that manager about the differences in motivation? Give you a few seconds to read that over again. Alright, I would expect everybody to be able to explain what they would do for the two problems. A, they should find a way to get another translator, or find a way to get current translators to stay longer. The second problem, you should definitely realize that motivation is different between people. It could be a cultural difference or just who the person is overall. You should be able to explain these different reasons for motivation and how you yourself would motivate these people. Alright, Agile Project Management. Agile project management is a method of project management. This method depends on short development cycles rather than one large cycle of regular project management. This could work better for your project than the regular static approach. There are 12 main principles with Agile development for management. The first is that your customer satisfaction is the highest priority and is done through rapid, continuous delivery of the product. The second is that changing environments are to be embraced, and those changing environments give the customer an advantage over competitors. The third is that with this method, the product is delivered more often than if you were doing the static approach, because you are continuously making the product. The fourth principle is that stakeholders and developers collaborate often and closely. The fifth principle is that all people in the project need to remain motivated. If you're doing these fast cycles and continuous, you need to continuously be motivated so that your project continues. The sixth principle is that in-person meetings are the most efficient. If you're going to be doing this rapid approach, you better be meeting in person so that there's no confusion. The seventh principle is that the final product is the measure of success. So the product at the end shows you whether or not your process is successful. The eighth principle is that to sustain a development in an ongoing constant pace must be achieved. So to keep it going, you must be at the same pace the whole time. The ninth principle is that proper design and technical excellence enhance the agility of the project. So the better design you have, the better the project will go. The 10th principle is that simplicity is essential. And if they're going to continually be making the product, the simpler the project is, the easier it will be. The 11th principle is that if teams are self-organized, they will do the best for meeting requirements. If your teams are organizing themselves, they're able to continually work better than if they were individually doing it. Final principle is that teams have regular intervals to fine-tune and improve their efficiency. So your teams should have times set up where they can pause, check to make sure that they're doing the right thing, update if they're not, so that they continually make the product. So challenges and places to improve for Agile project development. So the first problem you can have is not being clear on goals. The Agile method is a method that requires close work with the customer and short development cycles. If the customer does not know what they want, you cannot rapidly and continually develop your project. Second challenge is having an inexperienced manager or team. If the team is inexperienced, they will not be able to keep up with the pace required for the method. A third challenge is the inability to function under pressure. If the team does not do well with pressure, they won't be able to keep up with the pace needed to complete the project. Understanding these challenges can show you where it is you need to improve your project skills. So the solutions. In order to begin the method, the customer should clearly define their goals for the entire project beforehand, so the project can take off like it needs to and continually develop. So in order for the project to go smoothly and combat the problem of not having experienced workers or management, the project should have a senior manager with experience to consult or lead the project process. Finally, to make sure that your employees can handle pressure, employees who are going to be working on this project should be screened beforehand. They should be asked if they can work well under pressure and have their past possibly reviewed to make sure that they can. Alright, scenario. You've been approached by a potential customer who wants a new software developed for his company. The customer wants the project continually developed in this new agile method he's heard of being used for other projects like his. He's a brand new customer that has never used it before. He also wants part of his team working with you on his project. When asked what his goals are, he's very vague and seems very unsure of himself and what he wants. Right, I'll give you a few seconds to read that over. Right, questions for this scenario. A, would you even take this project? And B, what would you tell this customer that you see as a problem for the project? Give you a few seconds to think that over. Right, I'd expect everybody to understand that they shouldn't take this project unless some form of change happens first. You should tell the customer that him not having any specific goals before the project even starts is a big problem. You would want him to explain what he thinks the Agile method is because he's never used it before. Once he has these defined and he knows what's going to be happening, the project can take off and get to a good fast start. Second, everyone should recognize that the customer's employees are not going to be experienced enough to complete this method, along with the fact that there will be some confusion as to who they answer to, whether it is their boss or you as the manager. So this needs to be another clearly defined process, and he needs to understand that his employees may not be able to keep up. The Project Management Institute. Project Management Institute is an organization that works towards advancing careers, improving different organizations, and help their profession of project management worldwide. Project Management Institute is the leader in the world for programs for management. They offer a multitude of standards, certifications, communities, research, published papers, and professional development courses to better and further the aspiring manager's career. Project Management Institute has been working towards their goal for the last 50 years and are a globally recognized company that has more than 3 million professionals worldwide working with them. Right, the first certificate I would suggest trainees to get is the Project Manager Professional Certification. The Project Management Professional Certification is a globally recognized certification that validates your experience in project management to your peers and possible employers. The median salary for those with their Project Management Professional Certification is also 25% higher than people who do not have one. The Project Management Professional Certification requires either a minimum of a 4-year degree, at least 36 months leading different projects, and 35 hours of project management education. Or, if you do not have that, you can apply with a high school diploma or associate's degree, have 60 months of leading different projects, and 35 hours of different project management education. Once these requirements are met and you have applied and been approved, you have to go on and take the exam. After the exam is taken and you have your certification, it requires continuing education to remain certified. The second certification I would suggest getting is the Program Management Professional Certification. The Program Management Professional is a senior level certification. It proves that those who have it are instrumental in the leadership of their projects and can handle multiple projects simultaneously. The certification requires a panel review of your prerequisites before you can even take the exam. These prerequisites are a secondary degree, 4 years of project management experience, or your Project Management Professional Certification, and 84 months of program management experience in the last 15 years. If you have a 4-year degree, the requirements are the same, except you'll only need 48 months of program management experience within the last 15 years. After these certifications and prerequisites have been proved to the panel, and you have been approved to take the exam, you must have to take the 170 multiple choice question exam. If you pass that exam, you have to maintain your certification after passing. You must have 60 professional development units every 3 years. Finally, these are the references and sources used for this project.